Hello and welcome to the show. I'm JJ Flizanes, your host, and thank you for downloading today's episode. If you're getting today's episode when it is released, it is Thursday, September 12th. And on Tuesday's show, I mentioned that we're doing another webinar on Tuesday, October 1st at 5 p.m. Pacific time and 8 p.m. Eastern time on menopause and andropause. Transcending menopause is what it's going to be called. And I was really thinking about how to position it because menopause and andropause are part of what happens in our lives. It's a natural occurrence and it happens to every single person. Whether or not you suffer from all of the possible things that could happen during menopause and andropause, weight gain, depression, lack of energy, lack of sleep, hot flashes, loss of muscle, all of those things happen during andropause and menopause. And I want to go over them more thoroughly because it came up in the last webinar on manifestation. And while our physicality directly links to our ability to manifest, I did not have enough time in that webinar to address all the physical stuff. So if you're someone who's interested in weight loss, you want to get ahead of the game if you're not quite 50 yet or 47-ish yet, or if you've already gone through it or you're going through it and you need help and support to understand how to best take efforts to overcome some of these symptoms and transcend this period in your life and be on the optimal side of all of it, then I invite you to come sign up. Whether you come live or not, there will be gifts, free gifts for those of you that come live. It is jjflizanes.com/menopause. Again, that's jjflizanes.com/menopause. Again, that's Tuesday, October 1st, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And there you have it for menopause webinar. So weight loss, we're going to talk about all of that. Today, we're going to talk about pattern interrupting. Because it came up again in the webinar. There's just so much information, obviously, as you all know, that I can't do in 90 minutes, I can't do in 60 minutes, I can't do in 30 minutes, and I can't even do in a weekend, which is why this show continues. There's always more content. There's always a new perspective. And one of the main themes of law of attraction and resistance is momentum. So I want you to stop and ask yourself right now, do you recognize when you're in momentum? And I'm not even talking about exercise. And by the way, no one should be using momentum in exercise unless you're doing cardio. Then momentum is okay. But everything else really deserves a neurological component. And we'll talk about that on the webinar in more depth. So again, jjflizanes.com/menopause to sign up for that. So even if you're not in menopause, it'll help. But we're all in a momentum all of the time. You wake up and the minute you think of something, the minute you focus on something, you create momentum. And part of really getting a hold of law of attraction and these energetic things is to learn how to either stop momentum or change direction. Because if you're in a negative momentum, we don't want to continue that. That only makes it worse, which is why when we don't focus on finding how to release resistance or doing something in order to change our focus, then negative momentum continues, and then we wonder why nothing's changing. So one of the terms that you can think of to use in this situation is called pattern interrupting. And there are several therapies out there that can help to pattern interrupt traumas and triggers and PTSD. And I've talked about a lot of them on the show. One of them is EMDR, where you can work with a therapist to get to the trauma or trigger in your life. And then while you're in it, you do eye movement desensitizing reestablishment, which is what EMDR stands for. And what is happening is the eye movement, that actual physicality, also can disconnect neurologically from the trauma. And so what happens is the body doesn't respond in the same way anymore to the triggers, causing the thoughts and the feelings and the reaction that you get if you have PTSD. So EMDR can be very effective. I prefer, it's delivered in multiple ways, but I prefer it to be done with your eyes open, following your therapist's fingers in a pattern. And here's the reason. It doesn't have to be done like that. It can be done with earphones in your ears. Sometimes they put devices in your hands, as long as it's bilateral. And also the sacred acoustics we talked about with Dr. Alexander, that can do some of the same things. But here's why I like delivering it in the way that I've just explained to you with your eyes open, is because I actually felt a big difference in doing it that way than when doing it with earphones and laying down on a table. Now, that way can be effective as well. And however way works for you, if you try it once or twice and you don't think it's very powerful, try it another way. There's different ways to experience EMDR. So another form that can do pattern interrupting is NLP, and we've talked about that a little bit on the show. Not as much, but we've done NLP a little bit. We'll go a little deeper and do more NLP. EFT, emotional freedom technique, we did with Naomi Jensen on the show Tapping Out Depression. And EFT can be very powerful. EFT can be done, when I first learned about EFT, I used to actually deliver it, not myself, but with a business partner of mine in a program that we had called 6 Week Beachbody. And when she'd take people through EFT, it was very effective. And when I watched the video and I learned about it, something didn't seem right because I didn't understand why it was being delivered through what I thought was negative reinforcement. But if you've listened to Tapping Out Depression, you will learn, and I learned exactly why it's delivered the way it is and how to make it the most effective. So EFT is definitely also going to help with pattern interrupting. There's also state change, doing a state change. And even if you're not doing a state change, let's say, you're just doing it just to do a state change because you don't know what else to do. And for instance, that would be if you're in work mode, you're at your desk, you get up from your desk and you go take a walk, or you go take a nap, or you watch a television show, or you do a little bit of exercise, or you meditate, or you literally interrupt the momentum by doing a state change. So pattern interrupting, you can start doing some of it on your own, obviously. You can use tools like EFT. You can do things like pattern interrupting with a state change. You can get up and do something different to stop the momentum. But I think what I want you to come away with today, besides some of the tools that you already have access to do a pattern interrupt, is to also recognize the quality and the feeling and the frequency of your momentum. I think to assess how you're feeling is really where we start, because then we know what to do about it. This past weekend, Doug's been gone. He's got several gigs in Baltimore in the month of September. And while I miss him and I was sad that he'd be gone most of September, I was also happy and relieved that I'd be able to get a lot of work done. I've got several shows I want to put up. I want to get ahead of the podcast a little bit further down the line in the future here. Things are shifting and changing and adding things and doing new shows, and I want to be able to get them all up. And I really don't do that when he's here because I enjoy his company and we spend a lot of time together. And of course, I want to have fun and I don't want to be stuck behind my desk. But I do enjoy the podcast and I enjoy these conversations and these interviews. And I want to put out this quality work and I want to keep creating programs and products and opportunities for you to learn and change your life. That's what I'm passionate about. But I can't do it when he's here. However, there were some kittens that needed to be rescued this weekend, and it's always easier when he's not home. And so I said yes on Friday, even though I really wanted to work all weekend. I said yes on Friday because I had the impulse that I couldn't live with myself if I didn't. I had the time, I had the space, I had the attention, and I didn't want the kittens to die. So I said yes, that I would foster these kittens. And Friday came and went, and I didn't hear anything. So I thought, oh, well, maybe they don't need me anymore. And then Saturday morning, I got a call. Can you go pick them up at the shelter and take them for the weekend? And I said yes. And all of a sudden, my pattern interrupt was having kittens all weekend, and they were full of fleas. I gave them baths. I picked fleas off of them for hours. I fed them and weaned them off of a bottle onto wet food. And I took good care of them, but I didn't work. And when I got up on Friday and Saturday, and I noticed that I had a little bit of negative momentum going on. I didn't do my practice that we're doing in the Manifestation Challenge. I literally got up and had a bug up my butt about something in the house, and I started doing all the little projects around the house that I always want to do when Doug's around, but I never do. So all of a sudden I got up and all my energy was dispersed all over the place, and I was putting pictures in frames and putting the frames on the walls, and I was grabbing things out of the garage and the vision board that we're collectively doing. And I was cutting out the pictures and I was gathering the information to make that happen so that I could put it in the right place for the feng shui of the house, so I can help in the best possible way for us to take advantage of some of the positive energies of our new space. But I noticed that I wasn't in a great momentum. I mean, it wasn't bad. It wasn't horrible, but it was not like happy, and it wasn't completely in alignment. Well, actually, you can't be completely in alignment or out of alignment. You're either in alignment or you're out of alignment. So I was out of alignment, but I wasn't so far away from it. So let's talk about alignment for a second, because I just said that and realized that you may not know what that means. I talked about it on the webinar for those of you that were on it. In Ask and It Is Given by Esther and Jerry Hicks, Abraham sets up the emotional guidance scale, all the different variations of levels of our emotions, which indicate how in alignment we are, or how far out of alignment we are. Alignment is really when you're above, I think you're in like 1 to 5. Pure positive alignment is when you're in like number 1. So that would be joy, knowledge, empowerment, freedom, love, and appreciation. So those are all the feeling words of being in alignment. So you're either in a state of appreciation, you're feeling love, you're activating love, you feel free, you feel empowered, you feel full of knowledge, or you feel joy. That would be number 1. That's the highest level, and you're in alignment there for sure. Level 2 is passion. Number 3 is enthusiasm, eagerness, and happiness. You're probably still in alignment there too. Number 4 is positive expectation or belief. You're probably in alignment there too. 5 is optimism, and 6 is hopefulness. So I'm going to say that from 1 to 6, you're still in alignment. You're in the state of allowing, because again, all these words, all these feeling words really emanate a very pure positive vibration. Then we start to get to contentment and boredom. Contentment at 7 is sort of neutral. So you're not out of alignment, but you're in neutral. You're probably still in a state of allowing. You're not in a negative momentum yet. Number 8 is boredom. Boredom's got a little bit of a negative connotation, so you're probably slightly out of alignment, not quite there. Then we go to pessimism, definitely out of alignment. Frustration, irritation, impatience, definitely out of alignment. Overwhelm, disappointment, doubt, worry, blame, discouragement, anger, revenge, hatred, rage, jealousy, insecurity, guilt, unworthiness, fear, grief, depression, shame, despair, and powerless is all very much out of alignment. But they're all on different levels, because we want to soften where we are in order to increase the frequency and move up the scale. When you do a pattern interrupt, let's say you're in doubt, and you do a pattern interrupt, and you pull your focus from whatever you're focused on that's creating doubt, and you take a walk, and you get into contentment. Now we've moved up the scale, and while you're in this pattern interrupt and you're in contentment and we've slowed down negative momentum and we've now neutralized it, maybe you see something that stimulates hopefulness. Well, now we're in positive momentum, and now we're in a state of allowing, and now we're closer to alignment. And hopefulness might lead to optimism, which now we're definitely in alignment. So hopefully that all makes sense. So pattern interrupt is a tool that you can use in order to get out of a negative momentum that you can't seem to break with any of the other tools that you're using. So you can go ahead and buy that book, Ask and It Is Given, Learning to Manifest Your Desires from Esther and Jerry Hicks, The Teachings of Abraham. So pattern interrupting is really important for us to, again, stop negative momentum. And I thought, I haven't really talked too much about pattern interrupting. I've mentioned it on the webinar. I've mentioned it in some of the emails, and we're going to be doing it at the Manifestation Bootcamp. And I wanted you to really understand the use of this tool. I also want to talk about immersion and therapy. So if you're someone who's been in therapy for a while, maybe you've done a few sessions and you haven't found it helpful. I know I get a lot of people who come to me after having 1, 2, 3 sessions with a therapist, and they just don't feel like it's actually like making a dent or a difference in what's going on. And this is not to undermine any of you that are therapists. There are ways in which certain therapies have to be delivered that I don't really believe are effective for most people, but that's me. And that's based on my experience. There's this whole like rapport and trust building. And sometimes that can take 3 to 6 to 10 sessions. And by that point, if a person who's coming to you hasn't experienced positive momentum or change, then they're looking back at, well, why did I just spend 10 hours doing that? That didn't change anything. That didn't change my life. And maybe there's a little bit of hope. Maybe there's a little bit of change, but it may not be worth going back. And I know a lot of men, especially, who don't like therapy because we go straight into sort of all the negative things first. And then you're at the end of the hour, or you're at the end of the 50 minutes, and you've just uncovered, because we've spent 50 minutes digging down to find something. And now we've found it and we've unleashed it, so to speak. And then your session's over. And I know for me, I've experienced that multiple times with me and past partners and people, and that just doesn't work, which makes people not want to go back because there hasn't been a resolution. We do need to dig up some of this stuff at certain times because we want to release it. We want to transcend it. We want to take and change the experience. We talked about it on the show with Adelena East about the limbic system and healing the limbic system and being able to literally take something from the past and really re-experience it differently, having a different perspective, a different relationship, a different emotional response with this thing. But you can't do it if you don't bring it forward a little bit. But we can't bring it forward and then do nothing about it and then leave. And then maybe your next session isn't for a week or 2 weeks or a month. And now all of a sudden you have this lingering negative momentum happening. This is why I'm not a fan of, again, traditional therapies. So because I've experienced and had other people experience a lack of positive momentum and resolution and state changes through traditional therapy and coaching, right? Especially when you're just talking and talking and talking and talking, and there's no EMDR, there's no EFT, there's no hypnosis, there's no NLP. We're literally just talking. And for those of you that were on the webinar, you saw that 12% of our mind is conscious, and that's it. So we're not really moving the needle with only focusing on what we understand in our conscious brain. And while some of that is necessary in order to dig into and know what the right therapies might be for our subconscious brain, some coaching and therapies are not effective for most people because of this. We need a pattern interrupt. And I believe you need immersion. And immersion is where you literally sort of overstimulate every cell of your being, your conscious mind, your subconscious mind, your actual physicality of your body, and all of the cells for a longer period of time, which can only happen at an event. This is one of the reasons I have to do events in order to feel like I'm making a difference for you. And you don't have to come to my events. You can go to someone else's event. I don't know anyone who's doing an immersion event. Most of the events that I go to, even when they're self-help, some of them are meditative and some of them use tools. A lot of them are business related. And I know that they're happening. I've been to several, but I deliver a different kind of event because I've done so many and I see what we're missing. And I have the extra special powers of someone like Lisa Thomas, who clears inherited emotional DNA. She can do things that none of us can, although she will teach us how to do what she does, but she's clairvoyant, she's clairaudient. So she knows what to clear even if we're not aware of it. And that's what I love about having her as one of my co-presenters for pretty much all of the events, because she's going to be able to use her special gifts and talents to do something that none of us are going to be able to do by ourselves. So we have all of the tools that I recommend, that I teach you, that you can do. I don't know if you're doing them. I don't know if you're creating an immersion experience for yourself. Of course, you can do a lot of this on your own. You can take time out of your day. You could go spend a weekend by yourself at a hotel and you could put yourself through a lot of these exercises. You absolutely could do that. The question is, are you? My guess is most of you aren't. And you're not going to get the inherited emotional DNA clearing on your own. And you're not going to get what happens, the magic that happens when you do it in community. Because when you can hear and feel how others are experiencing the same things you are, there becomes a validation that you can't get any other way. You might get validation from a therapist or a coach about what you're going through and what you've experienced, and that can feel good. You can be seen and heard by one person. But when you're seen and heard by a group of people who are also there energetically to support you and love you and hold you accountable and help you break through to the next level, there's nothing else like it. And I know I'm talking to a bunch of you who might never go to a live event, and there's nothing I can do about that except continue to want to tell you it's really the most effective way to get these tools is an immersion experience. And you can ask any therapist about immersion. Immersion really will move the needle for you. So not only at the event are we going to be doing the pattern interrupting, we're going to be doing EFT. We're going to be doing NLP. We're going to be doing hypnosis. We're going to be doing physical exercises, not just exercise. And in fact, I don't know that we're going to be doing much exercise, but we're going to be physical exercises to help, again, integrate all of these pattern interruptions into your cells so that you have a different response. The weekend is set up mostly around financial manifestation, relationship, and health. And we're going to really customize it to whoever's there because all of my events literally focus on you. It's different than going, let's say you're going to go to a Law of Attraction event with Abraham and Esther's channeling Abraham. And I've been to several of them. And while it's spiritual, it's 100% Law of Attraction, it's literally just like listening to it on the CD. The only difference is you may get picked to be in the hot seat, but otherwise, you're just in the room listening like you do on a CD. So it's actually not about you. Versus when you come to a live event like mine, I am focused on you. This is not about me at all. This is about me wanting to help you and Lisa, wanting to help you move the needle, make transformation happen. And so I want just to encourage those of you that are on the fence about it to get your butt there. At this point, I'm not going to be doing another manifestation bootcamp. We're doing one, and that is it. So if you are ready to really break these patterns in health, relationships, and especially money, I would really strongly encourage you to take advantage of this opportunity to come to California, October 11th through the 13th. Use your miles. It's free to get to the hotel from the airport. I can set you up with a roommate. There's a payment plan in place. If you still need help, I will be happy to work something out with you. But I really want you to stop giving the excuse that you can't do it because of whatever limiting belief you have, and then you stay stuck. And while, again, all of the information I give on these shows, I know firsthand 100% because I get the emails every week from you, can change your life. Absolutely. But there will come a point, just like with exercise, where you're going to plateau and you're going to get to your comfort zone and you're going to get to the end of it. And then at that point, how do we change that? Because you don't know what you don't know and you haven't experienced what you haven't experienced. And that is what the power of a live event that creates immersion can create for you. All right. So I know I'm harping on this pretty hard. And again, it's not necessarily just for my event. Go to someone else's event, but go to an immersive event where they're using these tools. I don't know what people are using because I'm doing my own thing here because I've been to events and I pick out the pieces that I think work the best. I know Tony Robbins does some of these things, and I love Tony and he's great, but his events cost 5 times more than mine do. And at this point, I'm not out for that. I'm out to try to make transformational change for you. So I hope you can hear that I am dedicated to your success. There will not be another manifestation bootcamp. October 11th through the 13th will be the only one I do. So if you want another opportunity before the end of this year to actually make a big change and to really evaluate whether or not your therapies and your coaching that you're doing is working, this would be the event to come to. So you can go to jjflizanes.com/bootcamp. Again, that's jjflizanes.com/bootcamp. And there's a limited amount of seats. So once it sells out, I can't make the room bigger based on the fire code, but I'd love to see you there. And again, if you need extra help with getting there, reach out to me and I'll be happy to make it happen. If you need this and you think, oh, she'll do it again next year, do not wait. I am not doing it again next year. So jj@jjflizanes.com if you want to reach out to me and talk about it and see what I can do to help you. Again, please do not use location or finances as an excuse. I will help you get there. All right. jj@jjflizanes.com to email me or jjflizanes.com/bootcamp. So in conclusion, I just want to make sure that you understand that you have so many tools that I've given you over the course of the last couple of years. And pattern interrupting is a new one. And it doesn't even have to be conscious. Literally, it can just be physical. You can get up from your desk and go take a walk. You can get out of your argument and go take a walk or take a drive. Doing the pattern interrupt will give you perspective and space. Just make sure you come back to wherever you were if it was an argument with a cleared head and hopefully an open heart and some compassion to continue the conversation and resolve whatever conflict is happening for you. But if it's just getting out of your own negative momentum, call a friend, go to lunch, get your nails done, get a massage, go to acupuncture, take a drive, take a walk, exercise, listen to some music, have a dance party, take a nap, pet a cat, hold a baby. These would be great things to do some pattern interrupting that would get you into the zone. So the whole kitten thing for me was getting me back into nurturing, heart open, love in my body, in the moment, not worried or not thinking about all the things I had to do. It put me in the present. And because of that, I feel stronger. I feel more centered. I feel in alignment. I'm now able to receive my impulses and manifestations more easily because I'm in alignment. In fact, just to give you an example of some of the manifestations that have happened since I have been in alignment because of the kittens, like the kittens helped me get back into alignment, there will be a show on earthing in the near future. I have talked about earthing before, but I'm going to have Clint Ober, who wrote the book about earthing and brought this movement to our attention. Clint and I have been going back and forth for years. I'm not even kidding. For years about connecting and either being an affiliate for his products and wanting to share about earthing. And I've even invited him on the show over the last couple of years several times. And I just got the hit on Saturday morning that I'm done. I need to invest in another earthing product, and I want to work with someone and a company that I can trust. So I reached out to him and basically told him it was the last time that I was going to reach out. And then he emailed me right back, and he said that he was very interested and that he's glad we waited because the science has changed and evolved so much that what I'm going to bring to you is the latest, greatest information and studies done on earthing. And he's going to be sending me products, and he's going to be hooking me up with people like Mariel Hemingway to be on the show. So literally that manifestation came because I was in alignment. And then over the weekend, I also, with what's been going on with me, I haven't been exercising as much, and I was feeling the need for exercise, and I wanted to earth, so I wanted to go to the beach. And one of my old neighbors from my house, who watches the cats, wanted to come see the kittens. And I said, hey, do you want to go walk on the beach with me? And she said, you must have been reading my mind, because I told my husband I was going for a walk on the beach today. So, we were in alignment with each other, and I felt the impulse to invite her. We've never exercised together before, but she was available and it was perfect. And I literally read her mind. I was on the same frequency. So just having this pattern interrupt with the kittens put me back into alignment, and I got more downloads and I got more ideas, and I asked the right questions. So I hope that today's show will help at least give you another tool in your toolbox that doesn't require you to be in any particular emotional state. It's literally a physical change that can help stimulate a new emotional state, because you're slowing down negative momentum, creating space and hopefully neutral emotions so that you can then naturally gravitate towards more positive momentum. I hope to see you guys soon, either on the webinar or live in person, or working with me one-on-one, or reading your wonderful emails about how your lives are impacted by the work that we're doing here. I thank you so much again for participating, and I'll see you again here next week.